best part of Roger in that band was when everyone fancied him in that music video.
In that Want to Break Free.
I Want to Break Free.
Hi everybody, John Deacon here. Sorry to hear that your dad just bit the dust. Here's one for you. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the first time I ever heard with the Exotic Isis Project. In the first song I ever heard, we discussed Pink Floyd. We talked about so little in the long time that we discussed Pink Floyd, but in this one we've got one of the other legendary bands. I think they are the only band in history that everyone loves.
Yeah, or became to love.
yeah. I think it was a gradual process, wasn't it, with people loving them. But I think now, especially, they were one of the only bands that you can talk to someone who's in the mid-60s and mention them, and also talk to someone who's 14 or 15 years old, and they both go, yeah, I like them.
That's true.
That's true. We're talking about Queen. We're talking about the wonderful, wonderful Queen.
The Queen.
Now, I have to admit that before filming this video, maybe I've not consciously listened to Queen in about 10 years. Because the music is just part of my DNA, I just absorbed it and heard it so many times that I never found myself needing to listen to it.
Yeah, and even if you don't go out of your way to put it on the yourself, it's always there. Pop culture in some respect, always in the radio.
Always in a supermarket, or it's on some advert in something like that, or it's in a film. Especially
the supermarket.
Yeah, and I tell you what, quite a lot of their songs have just become like stock wedding hits, haven't they, as well?
Yeah, like it's my head, don't stop me now one more time.
I was going to say that. So where do you want to start with Queen? Can you remember the first time you heard Queen?
Well, like you said, Queen was always it was the first thing that I remember. Queen and Meatloaf and Fisher's Head. I split ends with the very, very beginning of where I start and sort of remember. And Queen were one of the first bands that got me to get the CDs or tapes from my dad's collection rather than waiting to listen to them in the car. But I'd gone to go see them when they played at the Dominion Theatre when John Deacon was still on. And I'll have been, I can't remember, I was in primary school, so less than 11. And that was sort of the pinnacle of music for me at the time. After hearing it so many times on cassettes over and over again, we finally got there. But I think it was all car journeys where it started for me. Yeah, the very long journeys and taking you away.
Yeah, I think as well. One of the reasons for that is, did you know that the best-selling album in the United Kingdom? In the world, it's Michael Jackson's Thriller. Obviously, it's people say it's that album, and it's disputed. But in Great Britain, as of a few years ago, the best-selling album in the United Kingdom is Queen Greatest Hits 1.
I can get that.
Yeah,
I was given Greatest Hits 1, 2 and 3 as my starter albums, as most of us did.
Everybody was. There came a time.
The long hair one, the mustache one, and then the sort of B-side one.
The one with Brian May on lead vocals.
Yeah, Elton John's on one of them.
Yeah, he is.
Georgie Boy, which one?
George Michael.
Yes,
yeah. I think it was the same for me, really. I honestly can't remember the first time ever. Like with the Floyd, we said there were both definite times where it was the first time hearing them and we could remember it really clearly. This one really stumped me to try and sort of pin down when did I first hear Queen, but my memories of the music were not necessarily the songs, but they were of the sound effects within the songs. Like those are my most vivid memories. Like for example, that weird backwards swell in Another One Bites the Dust, that zhink, and the bikes in Bicycle Race in that bit with all the bells. I remember those bits.
Very left and right. Yeah. Whoa! Yeah.
I remember those bits rather than the overall songs as a whole. Those little moments, as it were.
Yes,
I remember enjoying those.
I think when it was sort of the Miracle album and stuff like that, the very, very overproducedness is what I sort of fell in love with. And when I was a kid, I think it was Queen where I first experienced synesthesia to music, where I was listening to the cassette player, obviously completely sober as a child, and I could see the music in my eyes, behind my eyes and in my mind with my eyes shut, listening to, and it sort of, what's this going on? And it sort of freaked me out, obviously in a positive sense, but it made me have a proper true connection to that, sort of era.
Similarly, I remember listening to Bohemian Rhapsody being very young. Someone else put it on, I don't think I did no awareness of what it was, but in my head there were hundreds of people singing it. Because the harmonies were so dense, even just in that intro, not the operatic section, just the main intro of the song was so dense and had so many vocals in it that when I pictured the music being played in my head, I always pictured a room of hundreds of people singing it. You know, rather than just one or three people as it was who did the vocals.
Well, these were the days when I didn't realise quite how cassettes worked, and I thought they were all just waiting in the studio for Dad to press play on the machine. But bloody hell, they play at the same time every time, you know.
And again, the one of the bands that I think part of the reason they had such big appeal was that they managed to be kings in both the 70s and the 80s. You know, there are fans like people of the early stuff who say that by the time Bohemian Rhapsody came out, they'd sold out. It was all about the early glam rock stuff that they did.
But then you've got a whole league of new fans.
And then you've got younger at the time, people who it started with It's a Kind of Magic and Radio Gaga, and that's Queen for them and all the late 80s stuff rather than the 70s stuff.
Of course, and I found that to be a very important key difference, but the fact that they can evolutionise, and the fans generally stay in harmony with each other. You know, not like Pantera where the first set of fans would have smashed the other fans' faces. But you know, I found as a child as well. You know, I've spoke before about being very musically alienated, and I would listen to Queen at school or talk about Queen, and no one knew what I was on about, but the teachers did, or the kids' parents did. So I felt a little bit of normality, but then when it started coming into pop culture more and more as I got slightly older, but you're all traitors, you were all saying crap this, and now you all like it because you're on loads of films you watch, like Shaun of the Dead, for example. You know, and that really pissed me off.
Well, Queen are one of the only bands in the billion stream club on Spotify. They've got a few tracks with over 1 billion streams.
That's an awful lot.
Bohemian Rhapsody, I think another one, Bites the Dust, and there's another couple of I think We Are the Champions have all got, and We Will Rock You have all got over 1 billion plays on Spotify.
Remember when we had We Are the Champions on last time?
Yeah.
We were pulling up to that gig in my RB80.
Well, that gig where we weren't the champions, when there were more people on stage, where it smelled like someone had died in this pub. Another stat about Queen: they're the only band in history where every single member has written a UK #1.
What, individually?
Individually for Queen, but that's...
Right, okay,
Obviously, Freddie, Bohemian Rhapsody, Brian, Fat Bottom Girls, John Deacon, Another One Bites the Dust, Roger Taylor, Radio Gaga, and It's a Kind of Magic.
Yeah. I think one thing that sparked, you know, what Queen sort of sparked in me as a child, which led me to where I am now of researching and being interested in more than just the music, finding out who they are and why. Because even as a kid, obviously, you sort of get told that Freddie Mercury was quite the character and all that, and you sort of, well, what differed him from others? But even to the basic fact of a child, of a bit like having 10cc syndrome, where I had to ask the question of are they American or not? Because of all the Americanisms and just general twang, you know.
Yeah. And one thing that surprised me going back to them, like I've re-listened to most of the back catalogue in prep for this video, how many like political references there are in the songs.
Example.
Yeah, well, you know, he talks about Vietnam and Watergate in Bicycle Race. You know, Khrushchev and Kennedy in Killer Queen. There's all these little political references that are really clever that you just go over your head at the time, but that was the first time I'd ever heard about any of that stuff. And I'm thinking, what's he on about? Khrushchev and Kennedy, Watergate, Vietnam, what were you?
Well, that's what we have as being younger people, even though there's a slight gap between us. Things like music, Queen, you know, references, pop culture, The Simpsons and all that. We don't know what half it was because we weren't in the 70s and 80s. And then all these things add up and you go, oh, that's right, it all makes sense now.
And of course, the most epic 20 minutes in music history when they did the Live Aid set.
I tell you what, I didn't realise as well until I watched it again how tired he is.
You
see how he's proper compensating and trying not to look nacked. I didn't realise how sort of sad it was, essentially.
They were party animals as well. Don't know if you knew that about them.
Oh no!
Absolutely massive sesh heads. I mean, you don't write something like "Don't Stop Me Now" if you're not touching any of that stuff, do you?
Well, that's it. They used the word ecstasy before it actually became a thing.
Yeah, they did. That was the other thing I think as well. When I remember my first time hearing about drugs and hearing about alcohol was probably in Queen songs, like hearing them say ecstasy, you know,
cocaine,
all that stuff. It was. It's funny that kids listen to Queen considering that, isn't it? Like, it's funny that I listened to it when I was so young and all that just went over my head.
It's the flamboyance, I think, that I often found, you know, looking back to the songs that I was really passionate about, like the Queen ones and some of the early Mike Oldfield stuff and all that, just get told it does have that childish sound, which is very inviting. And I always wanted to be a lead singer when I was a child, and I think it sort of was the inspiration to be a frontman. I mean, where did Queen inspire you in what you do? I mean, besides
probably just the piano, actually. They were like it was one of the first bands where piano was really cool. You know, like, he took the lead, he took centre stage.
Yes, of course.
You know, like even on Don't Stop Me Now, Brian's got his solo, but apart from that, it's all about the rhythm of that piano. Like it's not the notes he's playing. I
watched a kid in college cover it once. Bloody hell, that's tiring.
Yeah. And we have to talk about the most underrated bassist of all time.
Who's that?
John Deacon.
Yeah, I mean, the more solid groove artist for a while.
Yeah.
But then I didn't realise for so long, you know, obviously, undercover songwriter.
Yeah.
You know, he was the one.
Yeah.
1997, I think it was, that he properly retired.
Yeah.
And he's had naught to do with it since.
Yeah. But, and again, he's made, in my opinion, the two catchiest bass lines in history, Under Pressure and Another One Bites the Dust. To do just one of those bass lines would be amazing.
I think it's as well, Under Pressure. What is the stop to it? It's really annoying.
What's
the intro to Under Pressure, which obviously got something to do. It's just 2 12s, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Another One Bites the Dust, there is a whole documentary based on the Rapper's Delight bass line. And it's all the songs that are boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And obviously that was indistinguished of who did it first.
But then I heard recently from a great video from Scott's Bass Lessons, shout out to another fantastic channel, when they were talking about John Deacon, they were saying that he's obviously just lifted that line from Chic.
Yes,
and just taken a few notes out, like it was his homage to disco, but he did it in such a way that it was more original and more impactful. Like it was a watered down version of what Chic was doing. It was his tribute to that, but it was more accessible.
Yeah.
You know, like what he put over the top of it. Like for example, I didn't know he wrote the lyrics for that. You know, he even plays guitar on that song.
No, I didn't know
because he wanted it to be more grungy. Because he thought if Brian played it, it'd be too clean. He thought if he played it himself, it'd have this grungy, punky edge to it. And I thought that's really cool.
I do like how, you know, even though it was so well produced and everything was so clear, some bits are so rough still to get the raw vibe of it.
Yeah. That's the other thing that amazes me, like when you compare that material to what else was coming out around that time, how good a lot of it sounds on a technical level. Like how crisp the vocals are, especially, and the drums always sound really good, even on the early stuff. They cut through. It's just power.
Well, that was the thing. Rog. It is just straightforward power blast. He was such a capable drummer that could do so many crazy things, and he did live. He did really show it live. But on the records, he didn't need to. It was just, you know, to do the pop song vibe and keep the groove going. But obviously, we know the trademark. You know, there's a little hi-hat rise on every snare there. You've got to do it. Oh, Rog. I'll tell you what, the best part of Roger in that band was when everyone fancied him in that music video.
In I Want to Break Free.
I Want to Break Free. Oh dear. When this stem splitting technology started coming out when I was in college, so that was a good 15 years ago. That's when I'd started seeing it, and it was Bohemian Rhapsody, of course, and Somebody to Love. That someone had split the stems on. And the amount of parts that were being played, you couldn't bloody hear, but it needed to be there. And if it wasn't there, you'd know something was wrong. You know.
That's one of the when I was in college, one of the tutors used to work for Universal, one of the big three record companies. He used to trade multi-tracks with people in Universal, so me and him started trading multi-tracks when I was at college. He gave me the Bohemian Rhapsody 24 track as it went in from the original mix, and it's amazing when you solo just the piano, bass and drums. They still don't know the operatic section, and you can hear Freddie's guide vocal counting them in where all the crazy stuff's happening. So it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, Mamma Mia, 2, 3, 4. And he's counting them off. You can hear it really clearly.
Just under his breath.
And there's one hit in that way Roger misses it, and he comes in one late, and it actually sounds quite good. And I think it was so complicated they probably just let it slip. So if you had to pick some Queen bangers, even if people have already heard them, your personal ones that you had to choose, and if you wanted anyone to go off after this video and listen to them,
I mean, first and foremost, Invisible Man. No. No.
What a troll.
That'd have been bad, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think I have the three ultimates for me of varying proportions, whether or not you get what you do. The Miracle. It's such an excellent produced song, and if you back that with I'm Going Slightly Mad for a cheeky fourth, but Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy is absolutely ultimate piano patter, lovely way of singing, and Breakthrough just for pure power. I mean, I can't
disagree with any of that. What is he doing in that video as well? Like, on the top of that train, I'll put still in.
There's no moustache, has he?
Yeah.
I can't remember. And I remember we had a silly music competition once.
Yeah.
Music video competition.
Yeah.
And that was one of mine.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic.
What about yours?
I think my favourite when I was younger, because of the emotional weight, was that Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are the Days of Our Lives. What it's called, one of those two. But that one just has such a power to it because of how real it is. And that's the one where you watch the video and it's in black and white to hide how poorly he is at the time. And you think that's
I think it was one of the last ones.
But it's one of those songs like if you were to end your music career, you'd end it on something like that, like a perfect song. Wouldn't you? Like some last songs suck, don't they?
It's that proper sick guitar bit. So it just goes wow 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 wow. It's really good.
I'd probably say that. I'd probably say You're My Best Friend as well. I think just because, again, John Deacon composition.
Yeah.
He's playing Fender Rhodes on that one. I just love the sound of it. You know, that sort of dirty Fender. It's a really simple part.
It's almost a honky tonky type part.
Yeah,
ding, 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 ding.
It's just so simple, but it just works, doesn't it? And it just grooves. Aside from that, I don't know, probably just all the ones you said. Under Pressure, of course, the ultimate, because it's got David Bowie on it as well.
Well, for the sake of the audience, what about the long-haired Queen?
Prophet song.
Yeah.
Are you a big Prophet? Do you know Prophet song very well?
Not as well as you.
Oh, that's one of the ultimates.
Can't remember what. Sean always used to put a right bagger on. I can't remember.
Where it's like your mother down, where it's something like
that. No, it was longer than that. It was more of a medieval boy. But.
I'll tell you what, I'm big fan of Seven Seas of Ride.
Yeah, like that is very.
It's got this glam edge to it, you know, like it's got this T-Rex and this sort of sweet sort of thing going on. Like
right ear splitting effects as well.
that bit where it all drops out for a half, and there's just that guitar delay carrying it over, and then that snare brings it back in. Yeah. That's one of those moments as well where I think. You know, Queen were maybe the first band where I understood what production was within music. You know, like you hear about producers and record production, but you can't really, as an outsider, like before I was a musician, I couldn't really distinguish what any of that stuff was.
Yeah.
You know, like you'll hear, for example, Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys, he added all these parts, but when you listen to it, it just sounds like a good song, which is what you'd want. But Queen were the first ones where you could listen, they're doing something really different here. Like with that bit in Seven Seas of Ride, even now, that's really different, and I've never heard anything like it.
And that piano is really good.
And again, when they drop out on Bicycle Race, that bicycle section, that's just fantastic, isn't it?
I think there's that element of very British at that time.
Yeah.
The very standard British rhythms and so on.
Yeah, the big book of British rhythms.
Yeah, they'd be right.
The thing we have to touch on as well, this unpopular opinion that we both have, I was not a big fan of the movie Bohemian Rhapsody.
No, I think it was a movie based off the Wikipedia page of Queen. There was no new information. It was purely.
And there was no depth. There was no depth. I wanted some Freddie Mercury, like as you said. He is the ultimate. I think for me, he's one of the ultimate rock and roll characters. He's up there with Jagger, Richards, McCartney. You know, he's one of those legends, like Ozzy. You know, just someone who's the myth, almost a myth. You can't believe that they were a real person. I really wanted something that was a bit more substance and a bit more depth that explored his character, that wasn't just a smattering of Queen's greatest hits with some obligatory record company saying they want any good and obligatory drama with his parents. There's always that obligatory drama with the parents.
Sex Pistols one, it was the same thing for me. It was just too much of a... They made it into a film, but it wasn't made for us.
And you watch it, and
it's like we know if a documentary's an hour long about a band, it's not going to be good enough. For us anyway.
Yeah. I mean, there was one documentary that came out that was 2 hours long that still wasn't good enough, and it was about our favourite band.
It took how many years to be released?
Yeah.
Well, more on that another time.
Yeah. Queen are just great, and if you haven't, if you've somehow have avoided all these songs, especially the later stuff, the late 80s stuff that gets overlooked, if you've somehow missed those, go and check them out. They're just amazing.
I think the one thing that I try to stress to anyone about listening to Queen is obviously listening to Queen and getting it and enjoying it.
Yeah.
But it is one of the formulated way you feel it physically and ethereally, and sort of like I say, I used to have an awful lot of synesthesia to it.
Yeah.
And it mattered, and you could feel the ecstasy taking over, which is where it came from. And it is an awfully important aspect of listening that people never seem to understand.
Yeah.
But with Queen, it makes you go that way.
Yeah. They're just one of the best bands, and unfortunately, listen to them too much, so I can never really go back. Sometimes I wish I could experience something like Bohemian Rhapsody with fresh ears.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right, and it's an important subject. On like you say, neither of us had listened to it in so long.
Yeah,
and it's because I'd I'd sort of got what I needed from it.
Yeah.
And for it to listen to it again, it wouldn't necessarily take me to back to that time. It would just, I've sort of got there now. Yeah. And it does become sort of Radio 2 back catalogue music, some of it.
Yeah,
you think, I bloody heard this all day on radio somewhere. You know?
All we hear is,
There's a bit of magic lost.
Yeah, a kind of magic lost, you mean?
What
a way to end the video there with probably the worst joke I've ever done on the channel. Well, we've bigged up John Deacon a bit there. We've talked about
it.
Yeah, John Deacon, if you're watching this, please do an interview or something, because the world needs to know, man. The world needs to know what you've been doing for the past 25, 30 years. We need to know.
Yeah.
There needs to be one of those like fan petitions, don't there? Like if this photo, and if this photo gets 1 million likes and shares, then John Deacon will come back and wish everyone a nice day.
Just do it for one of those cameo videos.
Yeah.
Hi, it's John Deacon here.
That'd be the ultimate cameo video that nobody could get. You'll
have to do funeral ones, and he only talks about them and bites the dust.
Yeah. Sorry. Hi everybody, John Deacon here. Sorry to hear that your dad just bit the dust. Here's one for you.
If he comes back alive, it would be a kind of
Yeah. Let's hope he don't come back in those shorts though, blimey.
Good lord.
Well, thanks for watching. The first time we ever heard Queen. Please like and subscribe. Comment some things about Queen, favourite tracks, favourite albums, and comment a band that you want us to talk about next in this series.
Yeah, Cannibal Corpse next.
Oh god. At least you didn't say fetus.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Made you say it.
Yeah, thanks for watching.